Hey guys, it's Areesa. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are making some beautiful chocolate boxes that are completely edible. So since giving a box of chocolates is such a staple for Valentine's Day or any special occasion really, I thought it would be fun to make the actual box out of chocolate. And of course we're gonna fill it with some delicious truffles and chocolates, but first let's make a completely edible chocolate box. So I'm starting with some dark chocolate and I'm just gonna melt that down. You can use compound chocolate or tempered chocolate here, it's totally up to you. And then I'm just taking this textured piece of silicone and we're gonna use that as a mold. You can totally just use a sheet of acetate if you don't have anything like this, but I love the way the texture looks on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and spread my chocolate onto the silicone. Obviously this mat is really small, so I'm gonna have to do this a few times. I'm gonna pop it into the freezer so it sets up nice and quickly, and then gently peel away the backing. And look at that gorgeous texture on there. And then I'm just gonna repeat this 4 times so that I can get all 4 sides of the chocolate box. And look at that beautiful texture. Now I'm just gonna heat up my knife with my torch. You can also just hold your knife over a gas stove and that'll heat it up as well. And then I'm just gonna cut down my chocolate into even sized pieces. It's totally up to you what size you wanna go with. It just depends on how many chocolates you wanna put into the box. Have our 4 panels of chocolate. So now that we have all of the panels ready, we're just going to melt down the edges so that they can stick together and form a box. So to do this, I'm just taking some boiling water, putting it in a dish, and then putting a baking pan on top of it. That's gonna give us a nice warm surface so that we can melt down the edges of our chocolate pieces. And as you can see here, I'm actually just melting them down at an angle so that they fit together nicely. Melt down the bottom just a little bit so we can create a tight seal with the parchment paper. And I'm taking all the scraps we had left over from the chocolate we cut up, melting that down, and then I'm gonna pour that into our chocolate square here so we get a nice even bottom. And there we have a chocolate box. So we have our chocolate box ready to go. Now we obviously need to fill it with something. So we're gonna make 3 different types of chocolates. The first one is a raspberry white chocolate piece with a beautiful cocoa butter design on the outside. So I've got some red cocoa butter here, and I'm just gonna melt it down in the microwave really gently for 20 to 30 seconds at a time. And then once it's almost all the way melted, I'm just gonna give it a really good shake to bring it back into temper. So I'm putting down some parchment paper because this is gonna get a little bit messy, and I'm just going to splatter it into the mold. I want it to look very rustic and abstract. Then I'm going to fill the mold with some white chocolate and pour out all the excess so we can create a white chocolate shell. And then I'm gonna pour in some raspberry white chocolate ganache. I showed you guys how to make this in my last video. I'm gonna put it on the screen here as well as in the description below. It's just a white chocolate ganache with some freeze-dried raspberry in it. And I'm gonna cap off the top of the chocolate. Or I guess technically it's the bottom of the chocolate. Then let that set in the freezer for a minute or 2 and just pop them right out. And we're gonna put 3 of those aside to use for our chocolate box. So for our final 2 chocolates, we're just gonna make some truffles because they are super simple, they taste amazing, and of course, they look really nice too. So first things first, let's make our chocolate ganache. So we're gonna make a classic, simple dark chocolate truffle. I'm chopping up some dark chocolate. Then we're gonna do 2 parts chocolate to 1 part whipping cream. And I'm just bringing that cream up to a simmer and then pouring it over my chocolate and stirring it all together. And I have a whole video on chocolate truffles with some fun different flavors, so I'm gonna link that down below as well if you wanna check that out. Then I'm gonna add a splash of vanilla and a pinch of salt. Now I'm gonna let that ganache set up in the fridge, and then we're gonna transform it into 2 kinds of truffles. We're gonna do a pretty pink raspberry truffle and then a classic dark chocolate one. So I've got some of this freeze-dried raspberry powder left over from another video. Of course, I'll link that down below, but it's just freeze-dried raspberries blended up with some powdered sugar. Then I'm gonna scoop out my chocolate ganache, roll it into a ball, and just drop it into the raspberry powder. And obviously, this is a messy process. And then we're just gonna roll it around until it's nice and coated, and look at that beautiful pink truffle. Then we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing with some cocoa powder. So I've got some Dutch processed cocoa powder here, which has a beautiful, rich, dark chocolate color. And we're just gonna roll the rest of our truffles in that. And we have our 3 chocolates to fill our chocolate boxes. And now all that's left to do is put all of our chocolates into the chocolate box. So I've got some little chocolate cups here, which are basically just really, really tiny cupcake liners. And I'm going to place my chocolates in there and then arrange them into the box. And there's our gorgeous chocolate box filled with delicious chocolates. And we have our finished chocolate box, which turned out absolutely beautiful, and I cannot wait to dig into it and eat some of those chocolates. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or what you want to see next, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.